So 1992-93 in Kaduna, a riot broke out which they call the Zango Kataf riot. I was a young boy, very, very young then, and people were killed in score.
Born and bred in the north. In this my little life, I have seen crisis. In this my little life, I've seen the persecution of Christians. In this my little life, I've seen dead bodies that were torn apart with babies inside. In this my little life, I've seen people who worship God and they don't know if they will be there by next week. That is faith. I thank God that he started with me from the north. I've seen all kinds of things. All kinds of things.
Welcome to Magic Word TV, where we share the life-changing Word of God to all nations of the world. Here, every message is designed to open your eyes, strengthen your faith, and draw you closer to the purpose God has for your life.
This somewhere adjacent the north gate of Samuel Rosaria. My father was a pastor. All of a sudden we woke up in the morning, no provocation, nothing. And the next thing we were hearing was people were just running all over our house and the church with machetes and all of that. The next thing was they started pouring petrol all over the building, both the church and the house, because our house was attached to the church. And the next thing was flames. Everything was burned right down to ashes. We narrowly escaped, found a place where we could shelter ourselves in the military barracks. Eventually, they brought us back to the lecturers' quarters of ABU Zaria, and we had to camp with a family for weeks and months before we could rebuild and start life all over again. That is long. I'm talking about 1986, 87. What about the Metasine situation? Metasine was a sect of the Islamic religion who went around burning and destroying and killing Christians back in the 80s. This is far before there was anything like farmers and herders clash. Then fast forward. What about in the year 2000, where over 2,000 people were killed in Kaduna? Year 2000. What about the over 300 people that were victims of the Miss World in November 2002? All of them, they were not a part of the Miss World. They were just on their own. Something happened somewhere else and they became victims of it. Lives were killed, houses were destroyed, and whenever they are carrying out this charade, they will be shouting Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, and they will carry their matches and carry whatever they have, and they will move in their numbers. And everybody on their way that is not chanting what they are chanting becomes a victim. I can go on and on. A few years ago, I was preaching in Kaduna for a great man of God. And I only succeeded in preaching Sunday morning service. After the service, the next morning, as we were preparing for the next service on Monday, the next thing I was hearing was the whole city is on fire. Kaduna is on fire. Please stay in the hotel room. Don't come out. They are burning churches. They are killing everybody. That is how we were stuck in a hotel. Even in the hotel, we were not sure of ourselves because they were going from hotel to hotel, room to room, killing people that were not chanting Allahu Akbar. And somehow God saved our souls. After about 4 days, we were able to leave Kaduna. But unfortunately, a friend of mine who was a pastor, Reverend Northcote Andrew of blessed memory, was caught in the midst of this as he was escaping for his life. They caught him because he was wearing a collar of a bishop. They hacked him to death, dug the ground, buried him and put a cross there. It is that little wooden cross that made people know that there was a corpse in that place. And this, my friend, was buried. These are real life situations. So for somebody to just sit down in the comfort of his home, maybe somewhere in the south, and be saying there's no such thing in northern Nigeria, my brother, you've not been a part of it. We've been right in the heart of the fire. I remembered one night, these Muslim boys were all over the place in my school, and they were shouting Allahu Akbar. They were looking for me. I had to escape. That night, my saving grace was that I found a female hostel and I slept under the bed. By the next day, I left town. For what? I did nothing. No provocation. Just because I am preaching the gospel. And of course, some of them believe that once you are not of the Islamic faith, you are an infidel. And they believe that if you kill an infidel, you will sleep with 7 virgins. All of this kind of indoctrination that leads to violence at the slightest provocation. Whether it has to do with the people or not, you just get on the streets. What about the Reinhard Bonnke crusade? I'm talking about the Reinhard Bonnke crusade in Kano, where people were hacked, macheted, and killed just because a crusade where the gospel of Christ was going to be preached. And that is why I thank God for people like President Donald Trump, who lent his voice to what is going on here. At least, for whatever is what, there's an ongoing conversation all over the world. The matter is no more put under the carpet. And we don't want just conversations. We want some action. And in the midst of all this, it snowballed into the herders and farmers clash. It snowballed into banditry, and everything becomes very complicated. And people are dying by the day. There are people in northern Nigeria, places like Borno State, places like Plateau State, places like Benue State, places like southern Kaduna, where whole villages have been taken over by some of these bandits, by some of these Islamic extremists, by some of these Boko Haram people. They've taken over whole villages, driven the villagers away. And somebody said there is no such thing in Nigeria. Why do we have IDP camps? When we never had an earthquake? We never had an earth tremor. Why do we have IDP camps when there is no natural disaster? other than the fact that people are being made victims of what they have no knowledge of. In a secular state like Nigeria, where all religions are permitted to be practiced, this ought not to be allowed. This ought not to be allowed at all. Our government have a duty. Now, when you live in a country like that, where you don't know what becomes of you the next day, you go out, you don't know if you're going to come back. When you go to church, you're not sure if you're going to come back. When you live in such a country, it's almost as if there's no government. And because the first responsibility of government is security of lives and properties. That's the first responsibility of government, whether at the federal level, at the state level, or at the local government level. Because the population don't have access to arms. But unfortunately, some of these bandits, some of these terrorists, some of these extremists, they are carrying AK-47s, and you wonder where did they get them from. In fact, it's unfortunate that at a point in Nigeria, there was even a local government in Borno State where Boko Haram drove all our Nigerian security forces and put their flag there. It's very unfortunate. And the government of Nigeria needs to do something quickly. Otherwise, where this is taking us to, we do not know. This has to come to an end. The ADP camps need to be emptied. Let people go back to their homes. Let people go back to their villages. Let people go back to their farmlands. Let people go back to their habitations so that they can live normal lives. So they can live the life they're supposed to live on earth. You know, this is very important. And this conversation is so critical at this time. And it's critical that I add my voice to it as a victim of this situation in a country like Nigeria. And I'm believing God that the day has come when this menace will surely come to an end.
If I tell you I love Jesus, believe me. Let me tell you this. I'm a young man, but I have been privileged to be around a few crises, including post-election violence. When the violence happened in Jos, I was there. I was in town. There were a few uprisings that have happened in Zaria. I was there. There was a time at the height of what Boko Haram was doing in Maiduguri. I went to minister for NCCF. I was about to come and take a flight from Zaria to Abuja. True story. And then they canceled the flight. Then I think it was an airline called, well, I won't mention the name. They're no longer in existence now. But then they were there. I remember the driver, I asked him, I said, can you go to Maiduguri? Because the believers were happy. Nobody was going there for justifiable reason. I mean, you could die. And I told them, I said, I'm coming. It was the NCCF that time. I said, I will come. I told the man, I said, can you take me by road? He told me how much I will pay. I said, let's go. I passed Kano. It was less than 1 hour when there was a bomb blast. And I didn't stop the journey. We went to a place called Potiskum. And there they had closed because the military were protecting those areas. I'm not saying that to command sympathy. I'm saying somewhere in the journey of your life, you will be faced with a situation where you will choose between Jesus and this life. It is milder for others. Some never even experience it. But my goodness, for some, that is the last badge they carry as they transit. You are not a true Christian if you are not taught this. That night, I did not sleep in Potiskum because of poverty. I was not poor. It was the privilege of the fellowship of the cross. We got there, it was night. They had closed the place because there were no fightings and the rest were going on. And I remember sleeping, that mosquitoes and everything, there were piles of cars. And I remember a joy welled up in my spirit later in the night. I said, I'm doing this for your glory, with all honor, with all honor, with all honor. People sing it and it's just a jamboree. No, it's a declaration that if I serve him in life, glory be to God. But if death meets me as I serve him, let it be my honor. The hymn writer says, I will be a true soldier. I will die at my post. Every military man, go and ask the generals. Some of them never died in war. The next time you see a general, that is a testament of a man who fought many battles. Many battles. There are soldiers that started from NDA. Some did not finish. They died on the way. One time I went to Zaria, and some of the soldiers that are around when we go, I went one time and I didn't see one of them again. And I was asking the friends, I said, where is this other person? And they all looked at one another and they said, he's gone. They went for an operation and he did not make it. The same way it is in the military. Some die in battle. Others survive, but they carry injuries. Others, as generals, you stand there, you see no finger again. It went. Others live until they retire. Others die. That's why they hold them in honor. There are military men in hospitals today because they fought for our nation. That's how it is in the kingdom. Some will start, others have gone, like Dr. Miles Monroe. Oh dear, others have gone. Some finished, some in active battle, because those who should support them were busy wasting their time, showing success and competing. Others stood alone in battle and they died. Today is our turn. I wish I can talk to young men who are doing ministry. This is ministry, not preaching, not Greek, not Hebrew. No turning back. No turning back. Not conferences. No, sir. Not suits and designers. Thank God for those. Not how many members. Not just flying private jets. No. To die. I thank God that he started with me from the north. I've seen all kinds of things. All kinds of things. If I tell you I love Jesus, believe me.
If you are not an Absa person practicing Muslim in Islam, they were killed. Especially if you are from the southern part of Kaduna, the tribes from the southern part of Kaduna, they were massacred. It was called the GENOCIDE riot. And if the next thing they do is to burn churches, kill Christians, and then if they are done with that, then they focus on businesses that is for Igbo people, Igbo owned businesses, and they destroyed it. I grew up knowing that Christians are an endangered species in Nigeria. In the year 2000, when the Sharia riots, how many of you have heard of the Sharia riot? Hundreds of thousands of people were killed in Kaduna. I can remember vividly that we had to defend our house from people. They brought some Fulani boys and they faced our house. They were shooting arrows. They were stoning our zinc. They spot our zinc, shooting arrows. Even though I was a Muslim then, even though my father was a Muslim then, but because majority of the people in our compound were Christians, so they were willing to destroy every one of us because we're living with Christians. I can remember a particular church in Mando, for those that know Mando, in Kaduna, called Chapel of Redemption. That church was destroyed. And so from that time, anytime there's a little hanky-panky in Nigeria, the first target is churches and Christians. And this has prevailed for a long time. That even if there's a problem with in another country, the Muslim and the Hausas in Nigeria will rise up and begin to kill Christians. How many of you remember the Miss World crisis in 2002, 2001, 2002? That somebody drew a picture of Muhammad or something in France, long away in France, and they began to fight in Nigeria. Are you following me? Christians are endangered species. Now let me give you, and that's how it has continued. Scores have been killed, and they focus on regions where there is a mixture of both Christianity and Islam. If you look at states like Kaduna, states like Plateau State, states like Nasarawa, states like Taraba, states like Benue, states like Bauchi, states like Gombe, states like Borno. These are places where they focus on because they intend to eliminate every living Christian in that place. Anybody that debunks it is a total lie, because I have grown and lived in the north. I've spent 80 to 80% of my life in the north, so I understand this thing. Several times, I cannot forget the Sharia riot. We were running for our lives. Even though we were Muslims, but we're still running, because as far as you are not of the ethnic group, practicing what they practice, you are a victim. You can be burnt alive. Many of us saw human beings that were burnt alive, like roasted like yam. And it has been going on for a long time. The genocide against the Christian faith. Are you with me? Many years ago, in Kano State, a man was beheaded. And anything they talk about, he said blasphemy. And guess who was the person that led it? The man called Sanusi, Lamido Sanusi, was the one that led him on. And they beheaded him, they killed the Igbo man. They killed him and they put his head on a stake and they were using it to parade the city. You understand of a woman also that is an evangelist. An evangelist Eunice that was preaching about 2016 or 18 in Abuja. And they killed her. We cannot talk about a young girl called Deborah Samuel that was killed. I schooled in church, and for years, the people of Plateau have been massacred. Riot breaking out every single time. The world that the moment anything happens, the next people that are victims are Christians. And it is unfortunate that all these years, the government have not been able to do anything about it. But the agenda is deep. Are you with me this morning? Why am I saying? Because I don't want us to be an ignorant people. If we are ignorant people, they will control the narrative. And these days, let me tell you this truth. God will not come and fight for you. Remove that thing from your mind. If Christians don't rise up, pray from that to tomorrow. God is not coming to fight for you. Are you with me? Now, in the year 2009, Boko Haram started. Boko Haram started because of a section. It was a political movement. They created Boko Haram as a political talks. to bring confusion into the government of Goodluck Jonathan, and to be able to destroy any opposition, starting from Borno State, under the watch of a man called Kashim Shettima, which is now the vice president of Nigeria. Kashim Shettima and the other man, Ali Mohammed Sharif. These were the people that started the business of Boko Haram as a political talks to be able to oppose their opponents. But after a time, the ideology grew and they began to destroy. Now, it became a problem and they began to use it to destroy, bombing here and there. In 2009, 2010. As of 2010, a man led a meeting in Jos. Are you with me? He led a meeting that they were going to annihilate Christians within the locality of Plateau, Borno, Plateau, Bauchi, Kaduna, and Nasarawa. And he said they are going to perform jihad. They will bring jihad and they will go to kill them. If the Islamic leaders are not willing to lead them, he is ready to lead the movement. I have the minute of that meeting in my phone presently. Guess who is that person? Issa Pantami, that was the former minister of communication under Buhari's regime. And several times, these are people that are terrorist sympathizers. And that is why the Nigerian army have not been able to win the war against the terrorism. Because people have, the terrorists have infiltrated the Nigerian ranks, the army ranks, so they cannot win the war. That said, Osama bin Laden was a better Muslim than he is. He was sad when Osama bin Laden was killed. And he has said it several times that Boko Haram should not be killed. He said they are their Muslim brothers. How do you win a war against terrorism when there are people high in government that are sympathizers to terrorism? How do you win that war? Now, there are 4 categories of insecurity or people that are causing insecurity. Number 1, you have Boko Haram. Number 2, you have bandits. Number 3, you have Fulani herdsmen. Now I'm going to show you how they are connected. Many people don't know. The Boko Haram and the Fulani herdsmen have one mission. The mission is simple: Islamize Nigeria. Come to a territory that are Christian dominated, kill everybody there, occupy their land. Go to Benue, look for a community, kill them there, occupy their land. That is always me. Boko Haram and the Fulani herdsmen. Have you noticed that Fulani herdsmen they don't kidnap, they kill? There's hardly a place you hear that Fulani herdsmen capture that they say these are Fulani herdsmen. No, when they go, they kill. How do they kill? They kill with guns. You must now ask yourself, how does a Fulani man get AK-47? Do you know the cost of one AK-47? One AK-47 is over $1,000 something. Where will a Fulani man be able to obtain to be able to get one AK-47? Are you with me? And now, so you will know that there are people that are sponsoring this movement. Then the Boko Haram and the Fulani, they go about Christian-dominated areas. You will understand that when this terrorism started in Nigeria, that only people that were killed were Christian churches. You will not hear that they killed anyone. It is Christians and churches. I remember in Kaduna then that churches began to look for security men to guide their churches in every service day. Otherwise, you can be in church and the next is boom, everybody dies. And churches that don't have money to hire soldiers began to use some of their members. I was a member of the security team in my church in Deeper Life in Kaduna in 2010. Because we don't stay in the church. Once I come to the church in the morning, we stay outside, moving around patrolling, because anybody can come and drop anything. So when Boko Haram started, the majority of Muslims, the Hausa Northern Muslims, they were happy. I know of people that were celebrating it. If you see them crying today, I'll tell you why. At the initial beginning of this thing, they were happy celebrating the killings of Christians. They said they are purging Nigeria of Arne. It was majorly of Christians and Christian-dominated areas. But when it comes to 2014, the man Buhari and APC that wanted to overthrow the government of Jonathan, by all means, decided to employ mercenaries from Niger, from Chad, from all those Fulani, from other African nations where they are Fulani, and they brought them into Nigeria. What was the goal? The goal was that if Goodluck Jonathan does not concede defeat in the election, they were going to rain hell on Nigeria. So they brought in these mercenaries and they equipped them with rifles, the Aerofiles, the Buharis. Are you with me? The Aerofiles, the Buharis. Every one of these people called APC, they brought in mercenaries and armed them in the bushes and told them to wait. The moment Goodluck Jonathan did not concede defeat in the election, they were going to start. But unfortunately for them, Goodluck knew of the assignment. He got intel about it, because the man said he said his ambition does not worth the blood of millions. So the man conceded defeat and left. And so they declared APC winner. Now, you have already brought people from different parts to come and fight. But what they wanted to come and fight for did not achieve anymore. So now they left those people in the bush. They left them with guns and ammunition in the bush. And when Buhari became the president, he abandoned them. Instead of them to settle them and let them go back, they abandoned them. And the people saw Nigeria as a place that is good. And the people decided to remain in Nigeria. Those are the people that started bandits. Before, we don't have anything like bandits. Banditry started under the watch of APC, under Buhari, because they were the ones that brought them in. Kidnapping, because they needed to survive. So they started by kidnapping. And they started by kidnapping. And they started by kidnapping. And they started by kidnapping. Over time, Now, you understand that there are certain parts of this nation where there are mineral resources. Don't be an ignorant Christian. Follow me. Don't be an ignorant Christian. Don't be in a nation where you don't have understanding of what is happening. Now, there are some parts of Nigeria where there are good resources. And these things have been illegally mined by elites, the military generals, the oligarchs, the people that are the leadership of the North. They were mining these resources, and the money does not go into the federal government account. So what they do is that they employ the services of this banditry to create two things. Number one, to create diversion. So when you go to Zamfara, that's why you hear that they say there is killing in Zamfara now. It's because of the illegal gold mine. There is gold in Zamfara that they are mining. And so these bandits that are already in the bush, some people collaborate with them, partnered with them, and told them to keep creating confusion, create chaos. When you keep creating chaos, the Nigerian state and the people of Nigeria will not be able to focus on the illegal mining. They'll be concerned about the insecurity. So the insecurity is created as a means of diversion in the north. Are you following me? It is created as a means of diverting the attention of the military and the Nigerian populace from being able to focus on the illegal mining of resources. And any part of the north where there is resources, you find out that insecurity there. Recently, it has started in Kwara because there's a great amount of lithium in Kwara too that they have discovered and they're mining. So they partner with the Chinese because the people that do this illegal mining are the Chinese. They partner with the Chinese to be able to. So the bandits became the security men of Chinese and all those people to protect them. So that while they are mining, they can begin to cause chaos. Because while the people are mining and they are causing chaos, kidnapping, nobody will be able to focus on what the Chinese are doing and those people illegal mining. Every single day to this moment, I'm telling you, they are mining in those places. And they will take it to an airfield in the bush and fly it out of Nigeria. They are making billions of dollars from it every day while people are being killed. That is why you now hear that Muslims are saying that they are killing Muslims too. What you have, it is what Buhari created. The APC-led administration created. The banditry they created is what is affecting the North now. Because the people they brought to come and kill Nigeria in 2015 did not succeed because good luck relinquished power to them. And now the people have become thugs. They have become tools to be used in the hand of men that are using them to secure their illegal gold mines. And that's why you kill them. That's why you hear that they say they are killing Muslims. Now, the Christian persecution and genocide has been there. So you find that the other part, the Muslim and the Fulani men keep going around killing in all those parts. And the Christians and the churches have been silent for too long. This evil has prevailed in Nigeria because the righteous men have been too quiet. If we're ever going to win against insecurity in Nigeria must put two things Nigeria must do. Number one, Sharia law must be completely abolished in Nigeria. Because Nigeria is not an Islamic state. Why will Nigeria, some part of Nigeria, be practicing Sharia? The law guiding them with constitutional law that believe that if somebody deserves to die because he speaks against his God. Can an Hausa man insult Jesus and I kill him for insulting Jesus? But somebody believes when you speak against Muhammad, you deserve to die. How do you live in a country with somebody that has that kind of mentality? The military have become complicit. They are compromised. Nigerian military cannot win this war. 20 years from today, I'm telling you, 20 years from today, this thing of insecurity will not end because there are people that are enjoying it, benefiting from it, and reaping from it. If Nigeria want to win this war, partner with America. Let them come and militate. I'm not sure I've seen that in Kano yesterday, some people were protesting that they don't want America to come. Because they believe what they have been told is that if America is coming to kill Muslims, and the man says he wants to come and kill terrorists, but they are protesting. Anybody that is negotiating, people like Ahmed Gumi, Sheikh Gumi should be locked away. A terrorist sympathizer is a terrorist. A man that believes that you are not supposed to kill a terrorist is himself a terrorist. A man that believes that we should go and negotiate. How do you go and negotiate with terrorists? Because you see, terrorists are not just criminals. They are working with the wrong ideology. A man that believes that killing he has nothing to lose. How do you negotiate with a man that believes that killing himself is going to meet their God in heaven to collect 72 virgins? How do you negotiate with such a person? A man like Sheikh Gumi should be locked away. A man like Ali Muhammad Bushari should be arrested. You want to win against terrorism, you must go brutal. No nation win against terrorism by pampering them. The custom is taking rice, seizing rice from Nigeria and taking it to terrorists in the bush that they need to take care of them because they are human beings. No. The moment you have become a terrorist, that you see that taking the life of your fellow human being is nothing, is to please a God, then you don't deserve to live. Children of God, I'm not going to ask you to pray because this is not a period of prayer. This is a period of action. Reverend Dr. Ezekiel from Jos, the man that have been speaking, have created attention. Not for once have they invited the man for interview because they don't want to give the man any airtime. But you see, any little thing they will call Gumi and give him microphone. Gumi, they are inviting Gumi up and down. The media is complicit. The Nigerian military are complicit. You can't win war with this Nigerian army, not because they don't have the capacity, but because they are compromised. Buhari created banditry. The people like Gumi and the rest of them, they are the people that facilitated the idea of Boko Haram. And today, some of them are your leaders in government. Most of them are moving free. Not one. have been arrested. Kabiru Sokoto that bombed Nyanyan in 2011. When they rearrested him, guess where they caught him? In the house of Shetima in Abuja. What is he doing in the house of Shetima if Shetima doesn't know him? But today, Shetima is your vice president. How do you win a war where terrorists are ruling you? Where terrorist sympathizers are moving around? This is not a period to say we are praying. No! This is a period of wisdom. This is a period of action. Churches in the south have no idea. They sit in their cozy churches with AC blowing them. They don't know what it means to be in the north. They don't know what it means to be running for your life. That every Sunday in the church there in Kaduna, when they say let us pray, everybody's praying with one eye open. Because you don't know bomb might go up at any time in the church. The Nigerian church must rise up. There's an agenda. And if you read the minutes of that meeting in 2010 led by Isa Patami, you will not believe it. I have a recording of his messages. Where's appealing? Where he said, why will they be killing their people? He said, why will they be killing his Muslim brothers? Referring to Boko Haram as their Muslim brothers. How do you win with such a people in government? And that guy was a minister under Buhari for 8 years. Do you know what I'm telling you this morning? You are in Nigeria. If you are not aware of what is happening around you, in a short time, one day your calamity will just come. You will not know how. Are you with me? The banditry that is destroying them in the north was created by the people Buhari brought for mercenaries to destroy Nigeria in 2015 in case he did not win. Unfortunately, he won, and those people were left without fight. And they began to use the weapons that have been provided for. These guys have sophisticated their weapon. They move logistic, move money in dollars. Where do you think they're getting it from? You think it's from the sale of cow? No. The Bible says, watch and pray. We have been praying. This is the time to do what? To watch.